Hello everyone. It's been so long since I've been on YouTube. I took a little maternity leave because I just thought my daughter was coming. Like I just really felt like, okay, any day now. And especially when I turned 37 weeks, or my nursing bra's just fitting a little weird right now. I got baby right here in her Bjorn. She's just bouncing here. This is a spot she really likes, so that's why I'm filming in a different spot today. Yeah, I just was like, okay, at 37 weeks, I was driving to Whole Foods and all of a sudden I got the craziest contraction. The light was red, so I was able to just like sit there for a second and like breathe through it. And then it was green and it's South Florida, so everyone's like honking at me and I'm just like, steering the wheel, it hurts. And I texted my mom, she was in New York, and I was like, I think you better book your flight. So my mom does have a place here as well, but she goes back and forth, and she was like, okay. And my first daughter came at 39.5 weeks, if you guys remember, just on her own. I went into like spontaneous labor in the shower. It felt like the movies, and yeah, and then I assumed that's what was happening with my baby. Wrong! So this is the story of baby number 2. I'm gonna share my birth vlog a little in this. We couldn't do a ton of filming at the hospital, and you'll hear why. It's gonna be my birth vlog as well as my birth story and the baby's name. Yeah, let's get into it. So I made it to 40 weeks and my doctor was like, okay, it is time to create a plan. You're 40 weeks, and I was feeling nothing at this point. So I was in more pain at 37 weeks, and then at 40 weeks, nothing. I started just coming up with plans, doing the mile circuit and like doing different things to get baby to come. Girlfriend is cozy, cozy, cozy. Like, yeah, I just got back from a walk and I'm trying to walk her out today. Last night I did the miles circuit. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a series of stretches, and you guys should check it out if you're also wanting to speed things up. But yeah, my doctor said he'll let me go to like 41 and change weeks, and so that would be next week, and then he wants to induce. So at 40 weeks, my doctor was like, I would induce you today if you want, and I was like, no, I want to go a little longer. I want to go to 41 at least. After that appointment, I went home and I started working out and like doing the mile circuit, doing curb walks, like literally doing everything. And at 40 plus weeks, my doctor wanted to see me again. So that was the first time he's ever asked to see me twice in 1 week. And he just wanted to do another ultrasound. And then that's when he told me I scheduled you to be induced on 41 weeks. I was a little upset because with my first, I went into, like I said, spontaneous labor. It felt like the movies. It felt like nature taking its course. Like I didn't really want to be induced. I never thought that I would need to be, especially since my first didn't go that way. He also did a cervical check at that point. I was refusing them up until that point, but at that point I said okay. And I was 2 centimeters dilated. So he was like, being induced will really work for you because you're already dilated, and I don't see it not working for you, where then we'd have to go into a C-section. So he's like, I see you delivering vaginally again. I was glad that my cervix had opened and that it was my body doing what it was supposed to do. And I do think that she would have just come on her own at like 41 and like 5 days or 42 weeks. But anyway, so we scheduled to be induced, and that weekend I started feeling contractions. Like all weekend I started like being in a little pain. And so I kind of felt reassured that I had an appointment at the hospital on Monday because I was like, I'm feeling contractions. Blessing in disguise was Violet, because she is a very like needs to know the plan type of kid. And her knowing like what night she's sleeping with my mom, what night we're leaving, like it was perfect almost when I had another kid. When I didn't have another kid, going into spontaneous labor was totally fine. But when I have a kid already that likes to know the plan, wants to know who's taking her to preschool, like wants to know everything, this was sort of, I think, her story and like my story and Violet's story of like what was meant to be. And it was the most relaxed for our family. So on Monday, I took Violet to school like any ordinary day. I got my hair blown out. Good morning, so it's a couple days later from the last clip. I'm just making breakfast before I leave. I'm doing like my pre-birth glow up. So I just took an everything shower, shaved, exfoliated, lots of oil on my body and on my belly. And now I'm just making breakfast before I go to a dry bar to get my hair done. Okay, just got my hair done. I always ask for the same thing. I ask to leave the curls kind of tight. That way they can fall out throughout the day. And then I just prepped the house for my mom and Violet so that they would have fresh fruit and flowers. I also used this time to pack more things into my hospital bag, like my prenatals by Needed and their hydration sticks. My neighbor just gave birth and she said, do not go to the hospital without electrolytes. So I packed those. I really like the grapefruit flavor. I use prenatals to help my recovery after birth, which Needed is known for. Not only can you take these while you're pregnant, but they will really help you after you give birth and lose nutrients and minerals. Needed was formed by mothers and trained nutritionists, and something that I really like is their prenatal contains 2 times more nutrients than other leading brands, which help with baby's brain development, but also your physical recovery after birth. I just took care of myself that day. I picked her up from school like any ordinary day, and I, saw all my friends. It was so weird because I was like picking her up from school knowing like tonight I'm going to the hospital. The hospital told us, just call us around 7 and we'll let you know. So we came home, we made Violet dinner. We had dinner as a family. Jared and Violet went swimming. My mom was here. It just felt like any ordinary day. And then things took a turn because we called the hospital at 7 the way they asked us to. They were like, just call us at 7 and we'll let you know what time to come in. And they were like, we have no room for you. And at this point, I'm like feeling a little bit of pain and I'm like, I think I should come in. And they're like, sorry, like a lot of people went into labor today. Like we have no room for you. So Jared calls my doctor's phone, like his cell phone, which he hates being bothered on his cell phone. He like hates me and Jared. Sam's supposed to be induced today. Like we told our daughter, we already have childcare. Like my mom is here. My mother-in-law is here staying with her. Like we want to go in tonight. So my doctor calls the hospital and he's like, oh yeah, they do have a room for you. And we're like, okay. So we drive to the hospital. I have to find like the footage of the last time we went to the hospital because weren't the dogs with us then too?
They must have been, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I have family that lives kind of near the hospital and melasmaing right now. And they're gonna watch my dogs. Violet is with my mom. And we're having kind of an interesting start. Where did I leave off? What was I saying?
There's no room in the inn?
Yeah, there's no room in the inn. And so Jared calls my doctor, which is why he didn't want to give us his cell phone. And because you abused it last time. Still dropping my dogs off at my uncle's because we're like, well, they're at least going tonight or I'm at least going in the hospital at least sometime this week. But I just feel really bad for Vivi because she's so excited. She started crying when he was on the phone. He had it on speaker and they're like, sorry. They were kind of rude too. They're like, sorry, no room.
Well, and it was like obscure. It was like, well, we'll let you know. It's like, oh, well, you said to call at 7 if we're gonna come at 9, and they're like, yeah, we'll call you back. I was like, well, like when will you call back? Like, should we be waiting till midnight for a call back, or like what's the...
And didn't she say, yeah, you could?
She was like, it could be, but if you miss the call, it goes to the next person and you lose your spot. Like, whoa, that is wild.
Just because I'm so overdue that like my doctor didn't even want me to go this long.
Well, and then they told your doctor today that they had plenty of availability today. And I get, anything can change. But then when he called them again, he was like, yeah, you're going at 9. So
we're showing up.
Yeah, we're, whatever. They didn't call us. He seems to be pretty confident that they're just giving us the whole,
run around.
Yeah, whatever that.
So I was telling Jared that I have to be in the hospital today no matter what because I cannot go to pickup tomorrow because when I go to pick up my daughter from preschool, everyone's like, you're so pregnant, and they've been saying that since I was like 39 weeks. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, you're the longest girl to ever be pregnant. And if I go to school tomorrow,
No baby.
they're gonna think I made this whole thing up. Okay, dropped off my dogs, and now we are at Target. What do you need that for? I thought you don't drink energy drinks anymore.
Sure, I'll need it.
This is the first thing I got, a waffle robe. And then I'm going to find a pillow. We each got a pillow. All right, they're not ready for us yet, so we're just in town walking around. I just like have to move my legs and sitting stressed. Can we go in? Can we not go in? It's just like too much. So it's midnight. We finally got a room. Oh, I got my Mountain Valley. We like waited in the parking lot till they called us and we're like, okay, we have space for you. And then I started having contractions and I was like, well, either way, I better come in. I'm having contractions.
Yeah, she's got the little stuffy bunny.
Yep, Vi gave me this and said, bring it with you, Mama.
It's got band-aids on it. Yeah, little band-aids.
This would be my baby that like I come here to be induced, but I start having contractions on my own.
Yeah.
Do you have a blanket?
Yeah, she said I could get more out of the closet if I needed them. But here's my sheet. Like a little flat sheet.
Nice.
And then this is the little blanket.
Oh,
She
cute.
said she'd give me a cozy one if I needed.
I packed a cozy one. By the time we valet the car, check into the hospital, check into our room, it's like midnight. At this point, on my own, I got to 3 centimeters dilated and I was in a good amount of back pain this time around. I had back labor pain like you wouldn't believe. So it was a lot like my first labor experience where I went in at night, they gave me the epidural and put me to bed. Except my first time around, I got to 4 or 4.5 centimeters dilated on my own. This time 3, but I will say 3 was more painful because it was just a different pain. It was in my back this time around. The next morning is when they gave me the Pitocin, and I was so worried to get it because I heard being induced is awful and you just get all the contractions right away. But because I had the epidural the night before and I went to bed on the epidural, then I didn't really feel the Pitocin. So the next morning I got to 3.5 just on my own, and they gave me the Pitocin. I went from 3.5 to 9, like quick, like really, really quick, but I didn't feel it happening. I just felt like pressure. So the nurses come in and I meet my whole new like nurse staff because you don't have the same people as last night. And so I just like fell in love with them. Like I was like, these are gonna be my girls that help me push. Like this is gonna be the dream team, and thank God I had them because it pretty much all went downhill after that. They were like, Sam, give us a practice push. Like, you're already at 9. Like, this is crazy. Like, I want to see a practice push. So I did, and they called my doctor. And so usually the doctor doesn't come until like the last, like final moments. Like, at least that's what my experience with Vi was. This time my doctor came right in and I was like, that's strange. And he was like, I just want to see her. And so he was like, all right, I want her to wait a little bit longer. I want the baby to come down a little longer so she doesn't have to push too long. But my labor with my first daughter, I did not get nauseous. And one of my friends was telling me she was literally throwing up in her delivery room. And I was like, oh my God, like I hate throwing up. Like I hope that never happens to me. And it literally happened to me. I don't know if it was the Pitocin or the epidural, but I just started throwing up. And with throwing up, I'm like pushing a little. So I'm like pushing the baby a little. And it was just awful. They were giving me bags to throw up in, and I felt like I was just gonna die. Like I was like feeling pressure down there. I didn't like the feeling of the epidural. I kept telling them to turn the epidural off, that I was like, and they were like, if we do that, then you're gonna feel it. And I was like, I don't care. Like I hate the epidural right now. I felt too numb this time around, whereas the first, like the epidural felt cool. Like I felt like tingly. I could still move my legs a little and my toes. And this time I kept telling Jared, I'm dead in the bed. I was like, I'm dead in the bed. I'm dead in the bed. My legs don't move. I'm dead in the bed. I feel like a log. And everyone's like, shh, you're not dead in the bed. So I freak out enough to the point where they bring another epidural person in, and this time it was a woman, and she was pregnant. So I felt like we were vibing, and she was like, I'm gonna turn down your epidural. Like, yes, you're gonna feel a little more, but I'm gonna turn it down because like you're small, you're tiny, and this is too much for you. And so she turns it down, and then I started feeling the contractions. But what's weird, guys, and for anybody that's afraid to give birth, I preferred feeling a little than none at all. So my doctor comes back in, I finally stop throwing up, and I do a few pushes. And my doctor's assistant, who I really like her, and she did a lot of my ultrasounds throughout my pregnancy, I could see her face. So it was my doctor and her there at the end of me. And then Jared here, and my dream team nurse is here. And I just felt so supported and loved. And I was like, this is gonna be amazing. Like, sure, the throwing up sucked, but this is gonna be amazing. So I'm pushing and I'm looking at her, my doctor's assistant, and she's like, good job, it's coming, like, good job. He was like, I see the head. And I was like, do you see hair? Like, I don't know why I said that. And he was like, yeah, I do, I see brown hair. And so I thought, this is great. Like, that was easy. Like, sure, I threw up a little, but like, this birth is not so bad. And then downhill again. She goes back in, and everyone's like, okay, we're gonna take a little break. And my monitor's here, and all of a sudden, I'm feeling loopy as hell. You already feel loopy when you throw up. Add in Pitocin, add in epidural, add in whatever else they were giving me. Like, you already feel weird. Everybody was cheering me on, and it was like lighthearted. Everybody was smiling, and this time nobody was smiling. And I was like, is everything okay? He's like, the baby's oxygen is going down and it's not coming back up. We need to get her out now. And I'm like looking at Jared, and he's looking at me, and we're making direct eye contact, and he's like, baby, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And I just start freaking out. And he's like, I have to go get the clampers. I forget what they're called, the forceps, I think he said. And I saw Jared look over and then look at me and be like, it's okay. And he's like, we gotta get baby out right now. Right now, we have to get baby out. So he said that my doctor literally turned, like did a spin, and they put on a different outfit on him, like a head thing. He had these different glasses on, and he said then they opened this equipment, and it was like, he didn't tell me this in the moment, he told me this after, that there was like knives everywhere and the clampers. And he was like, the weird position for my husband to be in, because he's like, you're my wife, and I know you aren't gonna want that, and I don't want to see that happen to you, but also I'm really worried about baby. And he said it was like so weird for him to be in that position. And he's like, I didn't want to let you down, because I could just feel that trust, that like you were trusting me that it was gonna be okay. And I was looking at these knives like, what the heck? So my one nurse just took things into her own hands and was like, put the oxygen on Sam right now. And so they put oxygen on me, and she's like, breathe. So while my doctor was getting ready to do scary shit, they were like, breathe, breathe. So I'm breathing, breathing, and he's like, oh, baby's oxygen. He's like, oh, it's starting to look good. Okay, baby's oxygen's going up. I'm gonna give you a few more pushes, and then I'm gonna like do his scary stuff. So I push, and I give it everything I have. So I'm now feeling it, and I'm like, oh, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. And I'm pushing, and I'm pushing, and this is why we don't have it filmed, because things just got too intense. And Jared said also in this moment, and I could just start seeing new faces, tons of people start coming into the hospital room. The charge nurse introduces herself to Jared. She's like, hi, I'm the charge nurse, and I'm gonna be here now. She brought 3 other nurses. It was feeling scary because they were only giving me a few more pushes, and a lot of pressure on myself that like, if I don't get her out like this, then she's gonna come out and it sounds like it's gonna be more painful and scary for both of us, me and baby. So I push, I give it all my might, and I could just look at my doctor's assistant, because that's who I could see straight forward, and she was just like, little more. So I'm pushing, I'm pushing, I'm pushing, and then finally they're like, slow down, because she starts to like fall out, and they're like, okay, don't push, don't push, and they like grab her carefully. She starts screaming right away. If you guys remember my first birth vlog, my first daughter didn't cry right away, and I was like, why isn't she crying? And I was like worried. This baby came out straight up warrior, stayed in for 41 weeks, did not want to come out. She literally was fighting to stay inside of me, and she came out bawling, screaming, full head of hair, chunky face, like so freaking cute. They put her on my chest and she grabs my boob and just starts sucking, like like so hungry, latches right away. Like she came out 7 pounds even, and she really fit the name that we gave her, which is Eloise. And Jared was just sitting there with her, and he looks up the name Eloise, and it means warrior. And we were like, and brave and courage, and these were all names associated with Eloise. And we were like, this is her name.
Look at my baby. Oh, I feel so swollen from birth, and it was a little more intense, so they didn't want us to video it or take pictures, but I will share my birth stories soon. And she's here. And look at all her hair.
I lost a lot of blood, and I wasn't really good about taking prenatals throughout my pregnancy for either, but I was really good about taking prenatals after with Violet, like postpartum. So the brand I'm taking for prenatals is Needed, and this video is in collaboration with them, and I've seen them all over Instagram and YouTube and TikTok, and I looked at the ingredients and felt really good about taking these, especially with the vitamin C in them. So I'm sure most prenatals have vitamin C, but the reason why I want to point that out is when you go to the hospital, that's actually one of the things that people are deficient on after leaving the hospital is vitamin C. And vitamin C is really important for your milk supply if you're going to be breastfeeding. It's obviously important for your health and immunity. Everyone talks about vitamin C for immunity boosting. Some people don't know that you also need vitamin C when you are breastfeeding. And just not being deficient. So my milk came in really early, and I was already planning on taking prenatals during postpartum just because I know how much blood you lose. And I did it with Violet, and I was like, okay, it worked with her. Like I had a great milk supply, so I want to do that again. And another reason why I wanted to take prenatals postpartum is because I know there's going to be so many gaps in my diet because we are running on like 3 hours of sleep. So little one is nowhere close to sleeping through the night. She's a week old, and the first night she came home, she woke up every 10 minutes, so that was lovely. And then the second night, every 30 minutes, and now every hour, which we are like, thank you for the hour. And so when you wake up, like, I don't know, I just feel like we're still getting in the groove of balancing 2 kids, and dinners are on point. By the time we have dinner, I'm eating a healthy dinner, but throughout the day, I'm just eating and breastfeeding. And so when I'm taking this, I know that at least I'm getting all the nutrients that I need to kind of, I think of it as like refueling myself. Milk for her, and also keep my immunity up. So that's a big thing with these as well. Boosting your immune system because I don't want to be sick. And these are also a great idea to take if you are currently pregnant and you do have gaps in your diet. The vitamins and minerals in Needed prenatals are going to support my baby's brain health. So thanks again to Needed for sponsoring this video, and use my code SAMOZ at checkout for an additional 20% off Needed's products. My doctor talked to me about supplements and taking supplements. He also told me that I did tear, like I have a 2-degree tear, and I have some stitches, and yeah, it's just so painful. Like it was so painful with Violet too, and like I had to sit on a donut. Like I forgot how painful a vaginal birth is, and I have nothing else to compare it to. But yeah, it's just crazy. Like I know people always post this, but like she's in diapers and so am I. Like we're both in diapers right now. And yeah, I came home from the hospital and I was like literally crying. I was in so much pain. I was like, my boobs hurt, my downstairs hurts, like my wrist hurt because they put an IV in, caused like a little inflammation. But when we got home from the hospital, my neighbors had decorated our garage, and just seeing that on my garage, like the baby girl, and then like other neighbors were dropping things off for us, and I just felt like a lot of community and didn't just like start feeling sad, because after birth that's something that can happen, is you just start feeling like really sad. But like that totally lifted my spirits. And when I say sad, like I just felt sad how much pain I was in, that just 2 days ago I went into the hospital feeling totally fine and myself and healthy, And even though I was 41 weeks pregnant, I didn't really have like a lot of aches and pains as you might think that I would, because I was so overdue that you would think, oh my God, her back must hurt, her everything must hurt. But I actually felt really good, euphoric almost, like just I could do anything. And then I went to the hospital and left like I was run over by a truck. And like that was just the worst feeling, and it just kept bothering me. Happy Eloise is here, and Violet is just the best big sister. And I don't know if it's the age, she's 4, so she's like aware of like when the baby needs to be nursed, but there's no jealousy, or at least as of yet. It's a week now, and there's never been like, oh man, like you have to do that for the baby, or like you can't do this. Or I think because we've included her in everything. Eloise sleeps a lot, so she gets like alone time with me in the playroom like she normally would. She gets to swim with her dad like she normally would. Like not too much of her life has changed, but yeah, it's just, I'm so happy she's here Earthside and healthy, and she was able to leave the hospital 24 hours later. They were like, all's good. She didn't really drop in birth weight, and now she's over her birth weight now that we're a week. I went in thinking it was gonna be exactly like my first birth, and it wasn't. So I think that my advice to anybody who watched this video and is pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant, just go in with like very little expectations. Still have like your birth plan. Like I wanted delayed cord clamping. Like I still had my birth plan, but it would have been better if I went into it without listening to the chatter of other people of like, it'll be like this. Because when I was healing and I was like 4 days postpartum, I couldn't believe how much pain I was still in. I just had a mental breakdown. I was just like crying to Jared, like, it shouldn't be this bad. Something must be wrong. We like texted my doctor. He's like, nothing is wrong. Like, you're okay. Like, I just had this idea that I was gonna be up and ready at 4 days postpartum, and that's not the case. My body still felt very broken. I still had to sit on the couch. Like there was no going on a walk. I had a 2-degree tear. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching my birth vlog. I'm so glad you guys got to meet Eloise, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.